man rush. I'm going to say that'll, until it's elite. Obviously, that's a challenge this week. But, we played a lot of three down. And I thought those guys played really hard. Ty Robinson was everywhere. I thought he played probably one of the better games I've seen him play. So I thought the guys all played pretty well.
You played over 100 guys in that game. I mean, have you been a part of many games in your career where you've been able to get that many kids into a game? And what can that do just to build what you're trying to build here?
Yeah, it's always one of my goals every year is to make sure everyone who can play plays. And so, I think it builds, it builds a sense of, hey, I can do this for some guys. Like they get in there and they're like, oh, I'm a much better player than I thought. Or it rewards guys for their effort, and I think it shows a team that cares about each other when, like Carter Nelson caught that first naked, and the timing was a little off. Really, that ball usually goes to Jamal, but Carter got out a little quickly. And then if you watch the play, Jamal just sprints and turns up and blocks someone for Carter. And then goes over and kind of celebrates with him. And it was like, as I said to the team, it's so much easier in my job when I can show what it looks like to be a great teammate. So when the guys at halftime made a decision to come out and play really well early on and get those other guys in, and I don't know that I've ever done it with 5 minutes left in the third quarter, put all the twos in, but I thought it was really important for the development of our team that a lot of those guys get a chance to play. When you have a guy, you have a chance to put Heinrich in. He's a starting caliber quarterback, right? So you saw, it was an 87-yard drive that he led. So, but yeah, anyway, it was really good to get everyone in. And I think most years we've been able to do that, just weren't able really to do it last year, but hopefully we'll do it again at some point.
You got to Shedeur a lot last year, but he showed his toughness. What stands out to you about him as a quarterback and what you got to deal with this week?
Well, he's got a big-time arm. He can use all 53 1/3 yards of the field, right? He can throw the ball from sideline to sideline. He's got a great feel for the pocket. He moves in the pocket. He can hurt you with his feet, but he slides in the pocket to find guys that are open. He's got excellent weapons around him. They ran the ball well this past game. And he's courageous and tough. He's an elite competitor. You're probably facing two of the first 5 guys drafted in the draft this week, so he'll certainly be up there.
What are your impressions? When you look at that receiver room for Colorado, what are you feeling with?
They've got great players. They're fast, athletic, explosive. To me, 5 is a difference maker. Obviously, 12, Travis is playing both ways, which is amazing. But to me, 5, he dominates the middle of the field. And they brought in, 10 from FAU who, had a ton of catches, and he's excellent, and 14 has a bunch of catches. So you have a quarterback who can make all the throws, so they can spread you out, open up the run game, utilize the receivers in the RPO game. So when you try to pressure, they always have answers. And they've got guys who can, everyone thinks of speed is running this way. These guys can run across the field and run away from man coverage. So, they're excellent players.
Obviously, both teams' rosters are kind of different from last year's game, but how much can you look at film from last year and translate it to this week? Well,
they have 2 new coordinators. So, it's a different offense and a different defense, So we spent a lot of the summer watching the Bengals defense and, just watching, Coach Livingston, where he's come from. And obviously Coach Shermer's been doing this for a long time, a guy that I respect a lot and know. So, you can go back to last year and see, some of the players and what they do, but I don't think there's any secrets here about what they're capable of. They've got dynamic playmakers. They've rebuilt the offensive line. They're big, they're physical, and defensively, they play man coverage. They pressured a bunch in the second half, to slow down North Dakota State, and they play really, really hard. Warren Sapp's their D-line coach. They play really hard up front, so they fly around. So they've got really good players, and they've got a really well thought out scheme and well coached team.
I know that you had a chance to watch Dylan on tape. How do you feel like he played fully on Saturday, and how prepared do you think he is for the big moment on this Saturday?
I think Dylan played really well. I thought he played a complete game. Thought he did a good job in the run game. Thought he did a good job in the checks game. I thought there were a couple communication things just in general, whether it was, the headset kind of being hard to hear, whether it was, checks getting out to the receivers or the right check. There was a couple small things, but not much. I thought he was clean in the pocket, protected the football, and still showed a level of aggressiveness that we want. So gave his guys a chance. Like I said, 8 seconds left, we took a shot at the end zone, and I mean, we want to try to go make those plays. So I thought he did a really nice job. In terms of this weekend, kind of the basis of our program is we don't treat any game differently than another in terms of our preparation. If you prepare more this week than you did last week, then what were you doing last week? So Dylan he'll double down on his process and practice hard and get ready for the game and go out and play, and we'll go play as hard as we can, and I'm sure he'll lay it all on the line.
What have you found about, now that you've seen it in a game setting, the the helmet communications, and of course you have an advantage of being at home because it's not as loud, but what kind of a factor can that crowd noise be potentially in a game when they're trying to communicate?
Yeah, the crowd noise is a real. I think even as I watch college football, you see a lot of guys they're putting their hands over their ears. College games just have a tendency to be a lot louder than a lot of NFL games. NFL stadiums are 65,000. There's some college games could be 85, 90, 105,000 people, right? It's metal stadiums, built differently, reverberating, less skyboxes. It's just night and day. Like I said, I had to switch my headset. I had to go from the single to the double just to have a chance. Plus it's the first time being used. You go out and test them, then you bring in all the TV trucks and Wi-Fi and all the stuff that everyone uses, and it starts to mess with the frequencies. So now hopefully this week it'll be a little cleaner, but it was loud. I think the one great thing is it lets our fans know that they have an impact. The very first, I think, third down, the opponent last week false started. So that's a traditional way. But, I think on the TV copy, Allison Williams did a nice job where she was listening to their headset and showing, they were actually coaching the plays, like where to throw it. They weren't making checks for them. They were going in motion saying, hey, throw it, hand it. They were coaching the game for them. We're not doing that. And that's great what they're doing. I'm saying in general, how loud we can be in a stadium really impacts the game. So it's not just, hey, third down, trying to make them jump off sides anymore. Now it's like make it really hard for them to hear the play calls and the checks, because it was hard for us at times.
So in theory, if you go fast enough, they can coach you all the way up to the snap.
Yeah, so when the Rams drafted Jared Goff, you can go up to 15 seconds, right? There were a lot of people said, like they would basically get on the line, and instead of looking at the sideline holding it up, like Coach McVay, I'm calling him Sean like I know him, Coach McVay would help him make the checks right up until 15 seconds. So it was their way of kind of getting in the right play. Now people, as they learn it, they're doing that. They hold their defense till 15, and then they make their check. But there's a lot of things you could do. Like you could say, hey, throw it over here. Hey, it's man, go here. So we're not really doing that. We're given the same parameters. Like hey, like last week it was, hey, if they're a big zero blitz team. Hey, if it's zero now, don't be afraid to go to this. Hey, if you get this, go. If you get man zero, go to this, and then we put it on Dylan to see it. But yeah, you certainly could do that. So that's why, again, I say it again. I thought our crowd was awesome. I'm not saying that so like, hey, they come back next week. I'm saying that like, hey, the louder we can be every week, it's really important because Coach Saban on game day was talking about the difference. If you can't go on the clap and you have to start doing the hand signal and look to the side, the D-line gets an amazing jump. Like all these things matter, which is why, years when, however many home games you have in other stadiums really matters, right? Like, some teams in college football that'll play 3 home games in a non-alternate site. We'll play 5. That's when you go to a place that's loud, it's hard.
Hey, Matt, Colorado and Nebraska kind of similarly situated as far as trying to bring their programs back to where they were maybe years ago. What do you think of the notion of this as kind of being a measuring stick game just for both? I mean, if you're looking at it from, I guess, the outside perspective.
Yeah, I don't think that way. This is our second game, so we're going to try to make an improvement from last week. I thought the guys handled last week great. I think every day is a measuring stick for us in our program. Like every day we're trying to see where we are, and so, we'll play the game, and we'll come in on Sunday, whatever the result is, and we'll get better, for week 3. So that's literally all I can say. I mean, we are as day by day right now as we've ever been in a program.
I was talking to a Colorado media member who referred to the game as a clash of cultures, programs, because they operate differently. Do you see it anything like that?
Not at all. I think they're a competitive culture. They go recruit and get the best players they can get. They do well in school. They don't get in trouble off the field, and they compete. I respect it with what they do.
What were your impressions just of the Colorado-Nebraska rivalry, kind of going through one the first time, between the two fan bases, and how much the game means?
Oh yeah, my wife and I, we went skiing this year in Beaver Creek, and just we were kind of sent the kids up, and we met some friends, and we were sitting down like hanging out, and this young lady walked up to me and she said, are you Coach Rule from the Huskers? And I was like, oh, I thought I was a Husker fan. I said, yeah. And she said something to me I can't repeat out loud. And her boyfriend was like, oh, sorry, Coach. I was like, nah, hey, this is what's great about college football, right? We love rivalries. We love all of that. And so this is a long-established rivalry. And I think it's great for the game. I think it's great for us. It's great for our university. You know, people all across the country are going to tune in this week to see this football game, and they'll see our fan base. They'll see the class with which we play. They'll see two great teams compete. They'll see our campus. You have enough games like this, and admissions applications start to go up, and admissions start to go up, and good things start to happen. You know, watching the game last week, look that's happened at Colorado. So I think the rivalry's great. And yes, as we went through this process, as I was showing my family Nebraska, I was showing them, those games. Like, you get on YouTube, the algorithm starts sending those things. And we were watching all these old games, and so it was a great rivalry that I grew up on, and it's a lot of those rivalries are dead now. So it's great to play it.
For a second, when you do motivate a team, you've thought about motivational speeches over the years. How do you choose to motivate your players, and how often do you use negative stimulus, like people don't believe in you or things like that?
I think I don't really know that I psychologically think about it. It's really more like I try to speak from my heart and try to talk about where we are. But I mean, like we played them last year and we fumbled the ball 5 times. So like, what speech mattered? Like, I have an idea. Like, don't turn the ball over, or make a better decision here, right? Like, at the end of the day, it was something as simple as snap timing on motion, right? And then the world says, like, well, why are you guys motioning so much? No, why don't we just motion the way we do in practice in the game? So I'm an incrementalist. I don't look at these major things. I just look at like, hey, we've got to. So like, I looked at the game like yesterday. I told the team, everyone says, control the controllables. We said it's right. I say, correct the correctables. Like, what are the things that needed corrected? We didn't tackle great in this Bass game. We took bad angles. We gave up a big play again. We had several different issues, and so like we have to correct those things. So I just look at this as like a really good football test for two teams that have plans on being good teams and want to be relevant at the end of the year. That they're going to play us, we're going to play them, and like we're not even in the same conference. So while I know it matters to people, and it matters to us, and it matters to them, we're going to see where we are. And so I'm just trying to get the football right and nothing else. Like, I'm not going to not wear black this week, or like, I'm not going to not say their name. I mean, I'm worried about our team. Like, literally, are we going to operate on third down? Are we going to have good, are we going to play good football? And, to play the way we played last week and have 3 penalties, I mean, that was a step in the right direction for University of Nebraska. But we got to do it again. And so if I start going on those different things, but that being said, I'm human. There's times I say I believe in this, and even I will jump away from it and be like, hey, we got to, I just haven't found that that's always worked. It might work once or twice a year, and at moments it might work, but, I think really just, especially in today's society where like everything motivational is already, especially when you're in Nebraska, everything motivational is already on Twitter. Like everyone's, excited, which is great. I'm just going to keep bringing the guys back to like, hey guys, let's execute. Let's play third down. Let's protect the football. Let's not fumble on the 7-yard line. Like, for all we've talked about not fumbling, we fumbled on the 7-yard line. And so we have a lot more work to do here.
Do you find that guys are good in the last 48 hours and coming back to what you're talking about there? Not
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you. I don't mean to cut you. I think we've been great. Like, this team's been, it's an older veteran team, right, for the most part, and they've been through a lot. And, they understand that the process works. Like, there's nothing scientific about what we do. Like, you show up each week, you prepare, you practice, you go to meetings, you're coachable, you take care of your body, you lift, you hydrate, you sleep. You get to the end of the week, you get yourself mentally ready, knowing what to do, you get yourself emotionally ready, excited to play, and then you go to the game, you try to play one snap at a time, stay in the moment, don't get distracted, and be great teammates. So, I think our guys understand that it's not all this other stuff anymore, right? They kind of understand it's just this. And so, the trials we went through last year, starting off 0-2, getting blown out by Michigan, practicing the next day, winning a couple in a row, and then having a tough end, I think has really matured these guys. And so they understand it's going to come down to it's going to come down to our ability to cover, rush, block, tackle, get open, things like that. So a really good group.
How would you assess the running back room now? Is it any differently? And the second part is now what with Dante Dowdell?
Yeah, no, Dante's going to keep playing. I put Dante back in after. Now, he had to sit for a while. He had to feel it for a little bit, but I put him back in. I think it's really weird. Like, as much as I say I'd like to have one, I really like the feeling of it on Saturday. And one thing I do is I always watch the TV copy the next morning. Because, I go and we watch the all-22 copy. You're sitting there, you're so upset that someone's foot went 45 degrees step at 3 inches too wide. And you're like, what are we doing? And the details matter, but I think you have to feel the game, right? And you have to, especially when you watch the TV copy, you can feel this. I watch the other opponents. I always watch the opponents' TV copies. I watch ours. You can hear the game, hear how it sounds. If you're hitting people, if you're running to the ball, if you're striking, if you're, you can hear your cadences. Well, I like the way it felt that it was really hot out there, and thank goodness we were on the cooler sideline, and they were going fast, and we were getting 3 and outs, and they were staying on the field a lot. So to be able to keep putting different backs in there that were fresh. I kind of enjoyed it. So, we had certain roles, obviously, Amir and, Ramir and Emmett were like the sub backs, the third down backs. The big backs went in on short yards and goal line, and then we mixed them. And so I think we do that for another week. We'll just keep doing that, because I like kind of where we're at right now.
Back to the tight ends for a minute. When did you know that Luke Lindenmeyer was going to be as good of and a devastating a blocker as he was?
I think it wasn't in the first spring that I was here. I think it was really middle of the year last year. I think he really started to develop some confidence. And as we went to more of the I formation stuff, he was more of the on the line blocker. And I thought he just did a really excellent job with that. And he's just developed, so he's got great hands. He does everything right. But he's really an excellent blocker and competes at it. And so I think he's one of those guys that's just really elevated himself since we got here. And he played well the year before we got there. He played a little bit before we got here, so I thought he played well. But I thought last year, and now he's just, to me, he's off and running.
And how much has Thomas Fidone just grown as a blocker in the time?
Yeah, Fidone's an excellent blocker. I know when you're playing tight, you want to catch the ball a ton. I get it, and we want him to catch the ball. We kind of have a goal of getting him. I think we maybe got him 5 targets and a couple more that that the game kind of got over early. But I thought Thomas. He's so athletic. He can pull around to be that second puller on counter when we do run that. He can split out and be a wide out and block the perimeter on some of the perimeter stuff that we do. So it's hard to find a guy with Thomas's athleticism who can both play as a wide out and then play as a fullback, really, right? And then put his hand on the line. That's the one step direction we've gone with Fidone now. Now he's playing in a 3-point stance on the line, reaching ends. So which will be a big thing of these guys. They have great edge players, and they set edges. So having the ability to get on the line and try to reach somebody that plays with length is hard, and Thomas has worked at that.
Did you come out of Saturday pretty healthy? And is Malachi still dealing with that kind of off season?
Yeah, no, Malachi's healthy, and we had no injuries. And Malachi's doing great. There's no problems. I just think Malachi stepped up for us last year. In a year that maybe he could have redshirted and tried to play. And so he's kind of in that same. If we have to play him, we'll play him. And it's early, but I don't want to play him, later in the games. And we have these 2 big receivers out there that are playing well. If Malachi can have this year and he can play, 4 games and play in the postseason, I think he would just be really picking right up where those guys are left off. Because he made a catch last week on the scout team that I was like, wow, it's awesome to see. And so just, taking the pressure off him for a little bit and let him go compete. And, I'm sure he doesn't want a red shirt. I'm sure he wants to play. So if something happens, he can play in the next couple of weeks. But I just didn't want to put him in for a play here, a play there. When we use someone's red shirt, we really want it to be worthwhile.
What does that say about the room, Matt? Mark Wade, the tight end. Could he help you guys this year? Are you trying to get him ready to go, or would you want to keep him out 4 games if you could and just make?
Yeah, we try to. So it's kind of I'm kind of talking about we try to get everyone ready to go, and then if it's just not worth it, we redshirt him. And I just don't have much experience with Mac. I know he wants to play, right? So. We have that kind of that NFL experience where a guy comes in and you just kind of get him ready to play. So we have that ability. We're going to try to get him ready to play. And then once he is, we'll see where we are. One injury to one guy, you definitely need him. If it's just a lot, he has to see how well he learns everything that we do. So, but yeah, we're definitely working at it. Keith's doing a great job. Keith Williams doing a great job tutoring him, and their job is to get him ready for this Saturday. My job is then to say, hey, what's the best thing long run for each player.
Yeah, I was going to ask on how it
kind of goes back to what you said Saturday about how unselfish that room is, and what does it say about how that room has elevated itself in 1 year? That you could consider them Malachi.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, the receiver group, I mean, we have a really good group, you know, and I think one of the things that we have too is we have some freshmen who came in that, you know, we'd like to probably redshirt maybe, but they can play. Like Keelan Smith is really a good player. And Quinn Clark is going to be a fantastic football player. I mean, he's one of those guys, you know, when you take him, you think, well, he's a big, you know, physical athlete. Maybe he'll grow into a tight end or an outside backer, and all of a sudden he shows up and he's loose-hipped and can run routes. You know, he can get off press. You're like, oh, he's a wideout. Like Quinn could probably go play, you know, this season, and that's what those guys did last year. So, we all got them all in the game, so they kind of know, hey, this is what it feels like, and then we'll see kind of as the year goes on. But yeah, that room, you know, the guys who played last year have gotten better, and the guys who came in have really helped us, and so you know that sometimes that bides time for maybe a guy like Malachi to redshirt, or a guy, you know, maybe Quinn Clark to redshirt, so that they can be bigger, physical, and more strong. Like the teams that win in college football right now, I think moving forward will be the teams that have veteran players, right? That are older.
You mentioned watching old games and rivalries, and this year is the 30-year anniversary of Nebraska-Colorado, number 2 versus number 3. Classic game. Number 1 that year, but you know who number 1 was that year when those two played. It was Penn State. What are your memories of that time and that season, and just what it was like from your perspective?
I remember like listening to the radio after we like realized we weren't going to win the national championship and being like, I can't believe we're not going to, like all the callers calling in back in Pennsylvania, like we should play a game, you know, we should go play each other right now, and kind of like what eventually became the BCS. But yeah, you know, I just remember the heartache of us, you know, of us not getting a national championship. You know, and it always goes back to that Indiana game. You know, Joe he kind of let our 2s go in, and I wasn't even a 2. You know, I was a 3. I was a kickoff return guy, but you know, let the 2s and 3s go. We were winning like 36 something, and then they scored a couple late touchdowns, and that hurt us maybe in the polls. But how much better of a system we have now, you know, than we did back then in terms of everything just being the eye test. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. One of the great things about this job is, like, you know, you meet Tommy Frazier, you meet, you know, these legends that, like, even though I was around the same age, it just seemed like a whole other world, right? You know, I was in Pennsylvania, right? You know, we're just legends of the game. So I think it's pretty cool this weekend, you know, the 94 team and all that. But yeah, I just remember great college football rivalries, but also just remember how painful that was for us, you know, that did not work out for us.
Coach, the return game on special teams, I thought it kind of looked okay. What was your thoughts on that?
I thought it looked pretty good, to be honest with you. I thought, you know, Jacory almost busted out a big one. You know, to me, you know, if you look at a normal college football season, you might get between 12 and 15 punt returns. You know, you look at the end of your stats, usually it's like 13. So one of the key factors for us is, hey, we want to catch all the balls. Like last year, like our opening drive, I think it was our opening drive against Minnesota. The ball was at the 1 yard line. We came coming out, right, because we didn't catch the punt and then rolled down there. So Isaiah, we knew he would be really solid in terms of catching the ball and managing the game that way, win the turnover battles, our number 1 priority. But then also, you know, he got up the field and got us a first down a couple of times. Or, you know, got us, I think it was 15 yards or so, but got us 1 first down. So I thought that was good. We had a chance to block a punt. We should have blocked it. We didn't. We were close. So yeah, I was pleased with that part of the game. And like I said, Jacory, I think it's only a matter of time for Jacory that he'll bust one. And like I said, he almost got out on that one. And you know, early in the year when you bring out kicks, like we're trying to bring the ball out of the end zone. You don't have a bunch of. Now we had a penalty on the opening one, but you know, once we got that out of the way, you don't have holds. And you're not starting at your own 12-yard line. To me, kickoff return. You know, I learned this from Chris Tabor, who I worked with in Carolina. Like, you know, hey, we want to deliver the baby out to the 20, 25-yard line. You know, and don't hurt ourselves. And after that, eventually you'll pop a few. And so Ed's really convinced me of that. So we're trying to bring them out when we can. The team we're playing this week, Colorado, has a dynamic return game. So this week it's about our return game, but it's also about our punt and kickoff game. They'll bring it out and they'll go make plays. So it'll be a big part. I think our kickoff coverage was solid. The kicks weren't great, so we have to, you know, Johnny's first time playing this week. We have to kick the ball better versus these guys.
You ever hear from Dion or Shador or anybody after what happened last year, what they said?
No.
Did you expect to?
No. Everyone, guys, I don't take anything. Nothing. I mean, like everyone's got their own. Everything's got their own things to do, and like I said, like I got love in my heart and a lot of respect for what they're doing. So, yeah, nothing really bothered me. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, Shador thought I felt like I disrespected his father. He was standing up for him. Good for him. You know, my son would stand up for me. So I think I've got a bunch of players in there. I think they'll show up on Saturday.
What are you expecting just for the atmosphere for this game, night game?
I mean, that night game we had last year, you know, we were 0-2. You know, I mean, like I said, I'm from Philly. Like I expected to show up and get booed as I walked out on the field. You know, like kind of how things roll where I'm from. And you know, we were 0-2, and that was the night game, right? Northern Illinois. I mean, just. And I'm one of those guys. Like I'm like, well, can we stop playing this sound? It's so loud. I want to talk. The light show went off. The drone show. I thought it was phenomenal. So I think it'll be great. You know, again, there's a reason why you want to play rivalry games. You know, historic rivalries is because the people from Colorado can come on over, right? You know, like last year we had a good contingent there. You know, it means something to people, and so I think it'll be rocking. I mean, I thought this past week was rocking. Like like the first touchdown, like you look at the end zone shot, as I'm watching on the remote, just like the amount of people that were there and just how nuts it was. So, yeah, I think it'll be a great atmosphere, night game. People have all day to kind of get themselves ready for the game, and it should be loud, and it should be a home field advantage. You know, it was loud there last year. It should be a home field advantage. Like I said, Sunday, let's all be in Nebraska nights on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? But it should be a loud, raucous atmosphere. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.